She said, "Brent, I had to go testify today. Your life is going to get very complicated from this point."
And did it ever? This former Secret Service officer ended up on news outlets across the country during the Monica Lewinsky scandal.
Now that officer is retired, living in mid-Michigan, and he's opening up only to the TV5 I team.
In part 2 of my exclusive interview, he tells us what was going on in the White House during the moment that would forever color the Clinton presidency.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Ethically, you knew it was wrong, but you still had to do your job.
Do you know whether Monica Lewinsky was still at the Northwest Gate at the time that you made that call?
Yes, she was.
Did you ever think it was going to be as big as it ended up being?
No. No, the first time I went to the interview, I figured, well, this is the end of it. It was only the beginning of it.
This is just the beginning of a simpler life for retired Secret Service officer Brent Chinery.
Macy.
His rustic Harrison home a relaxing retreat compared to the home where he once stood watch during one of the most explosive presidential scandals in history.
Betty would call me, and she would say, "Monica's getting ready to come in. Hold her out there on your post until I'm ready to come out and get her."
Betty is President Bill Clinton's secretary, Betty Curry. And the Monica he says he sat with many nights inside the White House, none other than Monica Lewinsky.
Can you give us some sort of comment?
She was not very friendly at all. We never really spoke. She would just kind of sit in the chair and just kind of look at me impatiently, and then Betty would come out and get her.
Chinery was front and center for the events surrounding President Clinton's affair with the White House intern.
And that's the post I would work quite frequently, was here in the West Wing lobby.
Once the Kenneth Starr investigation began and the news broke, Chinery says President Clinton tried to invoke presidential immunity, blocking him from testifying.
But we had to go to the federal courthouse and sit there for 3 days while the Supreme Court decided if we could testify or not.
The High Court cleared the way for Chinery to testify, and that's when he says his entire life got flipped upside down.
What did he tell you?
That she would come in to see the president, and that they would have visits in the study. As we're walking down the hallway, there's sketch artists doing sketches of us. And I'm thinking, what have I got myself into?
A very difficult situation. An officer doing his job when part of that job was keeping the things he saw and heard to himself.
And it was interesting when he was in the Roosevelt room and he confessed that
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
I was standing post on the other side of the Roosevelt room door, and it was very hard to digest all that, knowing what I knew.
President Clinton would eventually admit.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate.
But it didn't change Chinery's admiration for him. Chinery says he was the smartest of the 4 presidents he served in his near 27 years at the White House.
The first thing he'd do, he'd come in to the Oval in the morning, is he would gather all the papers and do the crossword puzzles. There'd be 5 papers laying out there. He'd pick them up. Within 15 minutes, he had all those crossword puzzles completed.
Chinery says he's been asked about writing a book detailing the life he lived in the country's most famous house.
Started in January of 1990.
No regrets.
No regrets. I enjoyed my career.
But a very modest and very retired Brent Chinery says he's actually ready to write a different story, turning the page to a much quieter chapter of his life, one filled with content and cherished, honored memories.
I will talk about it if somebody asks me, but I try to keep a low profile. It's just not me.
He's so modest. Wow. He really is.
And you often wonder about the life of a Secret Service officer, and to get that insight is chilling.
I could have listened to him for hours.
I know, the stories you can tell.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, he tells me he does not miss the stress of this job one bit, as you can tell. Well, you can also hear him talk about his fondest memories of each president he served. I've put that for you in the story on WNEM.com.